It's time for another Dice Tower review with the Chief, Bart Brunchine.
It's HAMTAG.
HAMTAG.
And just so everybody knows, because we haven't been saying, it's Greg Schmidtkins, Judd Vance, Bart Brunchine, also known as the Chief. And here we go. We're going to be talking about Solitaire War Games HAMTAG, which is half as much, twice as good.
Absolutely. Top five.
Top five. And start with me.
Sure.
All right.
You got it.
We'll start with me. I list out the coin games. Coin games are going to be Andean Abyss, Cuba Libre, Distant Plain. Now, before we even started recording, nobody had seen my list, but I heard Greg kind of talking about it. Coin games are counterinsurgency. Think modern day conflict, going back to Cuba, Vietnam. And why I'm saying they're great solitaire games is if you've seen one or if you've caught my Andean Abyss review, it comes with what they call a playbook. So number one, you're going to get walked through. If you've never played before, you'll actually get walked through so you can understand it, you can grok it. Number two is the player aids are a must in this game, and they actually come with player aids that will allow you to like robot or dummy play the simpler factions.
There are cards for solitaire play.
Right, and what they do is they basically say, in this situation, you would do this.
Right, and this particular of the four sides in the game, this particular side, if this event comes up, he's going to play this event. If he doesn't care about the event, he will prefer to rally, whereas this guy might prefer to plant drug fields.
Right. Now, in our pre-discussion, I'm going to quote Greg here. I'll let you explain it out. But you'd explained, yes, you can play any of the coin series games solitaire, but Greg said it doesn't really give you the the feel of coin.
Of the real game. Because the solitaire game, when you're playing it against a game like that, but when you're playing a coin game against somebody, they're going to do things for a perceived benefit, maybe 2, 3, 4 moves down the road. Whereas, that in this game, he's still got some guerrilla bands available. He's going to build guerrilla bands until he runs out. Whereas in a real game against people, he may think, I'm going to make a deal and I'm going to do something different with this. So they are good for learning the mechanics. They are good for learning how to play the game. But if you just take your knowledge of a solitaire game of any of the coin series into a multiplayer game, you're going to get surprised.
Yes, which is good. And I have it on here simply because I was shocked that it had this system that allowed you to play it solitaire. The player aids that go with it, unbelievable. And the playbooks always blow me away. If I didn't have you to teach me, I would have no fear grabbing that game and playing it from the playbook.
One of the best supported, best prepared games out there for something of its complexity. Yep.
Why don't we slide to you, and then we'll just pop over.
My number 5 is The Lost Cause by Victory Point Games. It's part of their State of Siege series. There's 14 games in it. The idea on them is you're the underdog and you're getting pressed on all sides. Real good examples, the Alamo, French and Indian War, if you're the French. Real good one, although it's not technically part of the series, is their zombie game, Dawn of the Zed. You want to talk about getting pressed on all sides. So you got these groups moving towards you and you're trying to push them back. I've played a couple of them, and what I did, I went out and tried to find a theme I thought was the most interesting. And I thought, the Civil War looks really, really cool. And you want to talk about getting pressed. You got groups going down the Mississippi, coming at Richmond from two sides, the peninsula and D.C. You got them coming down toward Atlanta, New Orleans coming up through that way, and also Montgomery. There's actually 2 maps in this. There's basic rules and advanced rules, something I wish people learned from. Avalon Hill did it right. Yeah, GMT, that's you. To do the basic, to get in these hard games and work your way up. And I started with the basic, then I moved up, and real easy once you do it that way. Because there's a little bit in this. It's not a complicated game, but it's got a little beef to it more than the others.
So first of all, is that designed as a solitaire game?
Yes, it is only one player. The whole State of Siege series, you can't play with two.
What is your example of what Avalon Hill did right?
Basic, intermediate, and advanced rules. Anzio, that's how I got into it. That's how I do it with a lot of Avalon Hills. Yeah, so there's basic and advanced. I was thinking of No Retreat really could have benefited from that. A few other GMTs could have too. But anyways, So this has a lot of chrome in it for a simple solitaire game. I mean, you got commerce raiders, the blockade, foreign intervention, emancipation. The Shenandoah Valley is an important strategic part because of supplies. You got raiders going on, torpedoes, forts, ironclads. What's really cool is the cards. Go ahead.
Well, so are these available now?
Yes.
Okay.
The cards look like newspaper headlines, and it tells you what to do on them. And you get so many actions to fight back. You got the generals in there. I mean, when Grant comes in, hopefully you get Rosecrans up early. And you might get. I had this thing. I had Lee out west. Okay, yeah, a little unhistorical there. Lee out west pushing back and holding them off of Vicksburg. Then suddenly, card comes up and Jefferson Davis recalls him. I'm so hacked. I'm gonna go slap that man. But anyways, these are all available. You can get them. Yeah, you can get them on. Available a lot of places. I think Cool Stuff has most of them too. You can get them from the manufacturer. They do have they got the basic and the advanced in here. They also have an expansion, adds a few more cards, a few more rules. If you get it, go on and get it at the same time. It's going to add a good amount. It'll be worth your while. They're real cheap. But if you order them separately, you'll pay separate shipping. So just jump on it once. This game also I mentioned has morale, which I thought was kind of cool. It's like the strategic wheel. So it has an awful lot of chrome and gives you that Civil War feeling, and you are constantly being present. It's a matter of how long can you hold out. One time I lost horribly. One time I actually got to the 1864 election and doing so well, Lincoln got voted out. So.
All right, now good shipping advice.
Yes.
You're up.
Okay. My number 5 solitaire game is Patton's Best. This is an old Avalon Hill game, but it's still generally, I mean, I found it, there's a copy out on eBay right now for only $20.
There you go.
There's 62 people who want to trade it away on Board Game Geek, so you can get it. This is a game, it's designed as a solitaire game. There's a strategic element to it where you're moving through the French countryside, and the terrain you're moving at makes a difference for what kind of engagement you're going to have. Then you might meet infantry with machine guns, you might meet tanks, you might meet guns. It's got some flexibility because there's cards in here for all of the different models of Sherman tanks. I'm reading a book on the development of the Sherman tank, and it's got, you know, the basic M4 tank, it's got the jumbos, it's got even the Sherman Firefly is in there with the 17-pounder gun. So you get a lot of not big replayability, but you find out about how the different tanks worked in the war. The one problem I have with this as a solitaire game is you've got to identify the things that are out there, and until you identify them, everything's an 88, every gun is an 88, every tank is a Tiger. While I understand the fear that somebody would have of that, the problem is that all of these things out there don't have 88 guns that can destroy you with one shot. So I kind of think there ought to be something in there that, yeah, until you find it, you need to be careful, but it might not be lethal. But other than that, it's a great solitaire game. You play through a lot of missions with this one. Patton's Best by Avalon Hill.
Played a lot of it in the day. The only thing that always threw me is the way I felt like I was on a dial. You know what I mean? As I'm turning around, your tank's always facing the same way, but you move the things based on how you move.
Right.
So when you turn, everything else moves.
It's a perception thing, right.
And then that was just where it got me. Anything?
Right.
You ever played it?
Nope.
Yeah.
Been interested in it and had it out there, but it's been kind of a low priority trade. But yeah, it's definitely attainable.
It's very interesting. I also realized how weak the Sherman tank was.
Right.
Which is good. I didn't know that when I was a kid. Now I do. My number 4, and this is going to be a little bit of a foul on my part because it's almost more of something I anticipate. It's the Hunters German U-boats 1939 to 43. I have not had a chance to play this. The first print came out, it went out of print. Where why it's on my list as a solitaire game is everybody I know or trust, or even those that I'm just reading about are saying this is very much the feel of B-17 in a U-boat. I adore B-17. I contacted the designer just trying to even get a review copy, hoping he had a few stashed, unable to get it. It's supposed to be coming out soon. You're getting a boat and you're going out and you're trying to sink ships and all those kind of things, and you're tracking that and you're taking damage and hits. So I wish I knew more on it. It's really on my anticipated list, but I'm hearing it's a great solitaire game, GMT.
Okay.
One thing I wanted to mention real quick on the last one, Almost all those Victory Point games are in print. They do print on demand, so you can get them anytime. When you asked me about that, I meant to mention that.
Oh, sure.
The
You're talking about your number 5.
Yeah, my number 5. A couple of they give the rights are with the designers, so a couple of them pulled away, so you can't get the World War II Pacific. And some of the newer ones come in boxes, so folio bugs you. There you go. My number 4, Field Commander Rommel by DVG, designed by Dan Verson, 2011. There's also, it's part of his Field Commander series. There's one on Alexander I have, very good. There's one on Napoleon I don't have, but a lot of people that play it think it's the best. I picked this over Alexander because I'm more interested in World War II. It is 3 games in one. You can link them all together in a campaign. There is the invasion of France, 1940, North Africa, 41, and D-Day. Like I said, you can take the results of one and go to the next. It is strictly solitaire. You're playing against the board. It is very logical rules on how the opponent's going to act. A lot of stuff like if they're going to get reinforcements, they're drawing from cups a lot in this game. So you can't predict what's going on, but you're also not fiddling with the AI as much with this thing. Extremely challenging. The North African is one of my favorite parts. It's the one I'm most familiar with. As you push harder to Alexandria, your supply line stretches. You got superior units, but they just keep coming at you. Tobruk's hard to take, so he captures all the big themes into this in a really, really slick solitaire game. Runs about, I think NWS is selling for like $34, and you can get the first edition, has paper maps. I see you go for 20, but it's still in print. I recommend the second because the production's really good on this thing.
So what are the scales of them? I mean, is a scale like in the North Africa, is it the usual Benghazi to El Alamein?
It goes to Tripoli.
Okay, but
it goes Tripoli to
okay,
basically Alexandria out there.
Yeah.
So
okay.
yeah, so you're pushing it along that. The farther you go, the more.
And are you controlling a whole bunch of units?
Yes.
Okay.
And like when you go to battle, there are chits that might give you an advantage, and you pick out which ones you want. They do different things. When it comes to others, it might say draw 5, and then you put them out. And there's rules. You will play this one first if you take damage, so you can't game the system. Okay. So real slick, great rule book. Dan Verson writes awesome rule books.
Okay.
So anyways, my number 4, Field Commander Rommel.
Okay, my number 4, Solitaire War Game. It's actually the series. It's a great campaigns of the American Civil War series. I brought in Stonewall Jackson's Way, the original, because Stonewall Jackson's Way, the re-release, and Battle Above the Clouds, which takes this series out west, are still available. There were 6 or 7 in the original series. They're all the same scale. They've all it's a initiative roll to see who goes first. Whether it's the Union going first or the Confederates going first, that's what makes it a good solitaire game. You know, and this time, I've got to do whatever is best for the Confederates this time. The Confederates get to go again. So you can't just react to yourself.
So you're playing both sides when you're doing solitaire.
When you're playing solitaire, right. This is designed as a 2-player game, but it plays well as a solitaire. One of the things it does well is it shows combat as a function of movement. Most of the time when you're moving a unit, you'll move them to engage in combat, and how many movement points you got to do that shows how much time you had to prepare for the attack. There are some grand assaults, units that are already in place that are assaulting a place, but usually there's a lot of maneuver involved in this game. One of the older games in this series, the roads to Gettysburg, usually the Gettysburg battles are, the Hook, Round Tops, the Lee's attack. Roads to Gettysburg is the whole area around Pennsylvania as they were getting into position, and the Gettysburg itself is only this cluster of 6, 8, 10 hexes in the middle of the map because it's the maneuver for the campaign to get there. Great campaigns of the American Civil War. 2 of them are still available. They're all good games.
My number 3, there's been a reprint on this, is RAF Battle of Britain. I played the original version quite some time ago, and I bought the new version when it came out. and I haven't yet played it. But have you played it?
No.
The new version. The idea is, I'm going to give you the original version and some nice little extras that are in the new version. You're playing. It's the Battle of Britain. You are the Allies trying to stop the bombing and the planes coming in. So it's that ragged edge where you're barely keeping your planes up, you're barely keeping your pilots alive. The good thing is when they get shot down, you've got them back in the fight again, whereas the Germans don't. The new version called RAF Lions versus the Eagle is you can switch that around, and now you can play the Germans trying to come in and attack. Again, I haven't played that newer version, but I bought it the second it went live because I thought, great. I mean, that was something that was so nice that you can simply play the other side. So, and it's a different feel for solitaire games. So, and I used to be diehard solitaire gamer, so I was always looking for different feels, tanks, planes.
So the one that I'm most familiar with is Battle Over Britain.
Ooh,
where the scale, you can either have it's an individual raid or it can be, it can be the whole campaign. Do you know what the scale of the one you've got? Are you doing a raid? Are you doing the whole several months of the battle?
Remembering way back,
right?
Going way back, and I haven't played the new version, but it's the same thing with the add-on. Is you're simply responding to the alerts coming in from radar and having planes in position for different things, and can you survive the onslaughts as they're at the stage where they're already starting to bomb even into the cities. So it's not just the attacks on the airfields, if memory serves me correct. But it's great for that feel of it, and you feel that pressure that's coming your way.
Okay, my number 3, B-17 Queen of the Skies. I think you've mentioned this game.
It may appear.
Maybe
it may appear on my list.
Not much more I can say than what Bart said in the past videos. The thing about this game is narrative. The thing that people like about Combat Commander, I fully understand, because this is what I love about this game. There's not many choices in it. I mean, where you put your machine guns, that's pretty much it. But the stories it tells, get on YouTube, look for Stuka Joe, watch his videos. You want to see what this game's all about. Look for the handsome waist gunners and the less handsome former co-pilot.
I got killed.
Anyways, so yeah, this thing is still relevant. You get on Board Game Geek, they fly missions. They say we're going to fly here, and then you roll it. You send in your results, and they tally them up and tell how everybody did. It is out of print. It's a 1981 game. I checked on eBay. It's probably the most expensive game I've ever recommended.
It's hard to get.
Yeah, I saw one for 40 and I saw one for 80 on eBay. I'm going to guess you're going to spend 60 to 80.
You know what you need to do? There's a Basil module, but I don't think it was ever fully finished.
Yeah,
I think you should clean it up.
It's out there. It fully plays because I've played it.
Does it?
It could be improved. That's the thing I tinker with Vassal modules all the time that I think, they should do a lot more.
Please go tinker with that. I would love to play that.
And the thing I would say about B-17 Queen of the Skies, I've mentioned it before, but at the World Board Gaming Championships, which is in August in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, that's one of the tournaments. The idea of having a tournament in a solitaire game is a little unusual, but they get a room full of people lined up. They're in 3-person squadrons, and they're just all playing the same mission, but the same solitaire one. They do it for a whole day. Then they have an award ceremony the next night. It is a social experience that is unlike anything you've ever seen.
Yeah, phenomenal. I mean, they've got the mug which turns if you've got a flight that the next day. I will also say, even playing as a kid, I created my own squadron, named 125 planes. I crewed them all. I had crew lists, and we would go on mass missions where I would play the same. This got a little deadly after a while for playing. If we were flying to, let's just say, Berlin, I would randomly chip draw 75 planes, figure out all their positions, and I would fly it 75 times. That got a little old after a while.
Did you memorize the tables after a while?
Yeah, you got it down, but it was so. It's just a great game.
This is something else cool about this. I played this as a kid in the 80s. I pulled it back out around 2011. It took almost no time to get. I didn't do that kind of stuff he did. And then I could sit there and play it now. I would not have to consult the rule book. You just follow along with the charts. And I didn't even notice the complaints about not a lot of decisions until I sat down and played it again. I was like, I really didn't. But the narrative just grips you so much. And then you start with easy missions and they get harder. And good luck trying to get to 25.
Yeah, you start to care about that particular bombardier.
Yeah, that's my number 3, B-17 Queen of the Skies.
Okay, my number 3 is the Standard Combat series. I've talked about it before. This is just your vanilla hex encounter games. Part of the reason why they are good solitaire games is because there are a lot of games in the series. The last time I counted, there were 18 different games available in the series. Many of them are still available, but it's your basic, you've got movement, combat, exploitation, check for supply. Every game has a little bit of tailored rules. The Bastogne game has a little bit for, holding out in out of supply situations. Next game might have rules about amphibious landings in Mighty Endeavor. So these are good solitaire games because even though it is I go, you go, the mechanics are so clean that they're very enjoyable solitaire games. The Standard Combat series, currently put out by MMP, Multi-Man Publishing.
May I see B-17 real quick? Good thing is we're not going to have to spend too much time on it. That's all I'm going to say right there. By the way, he was a waist gunner, had a great shot, took down I think a 109, and then promptly was killed.
I wasn't killed.
Seriously wounded.
And he's out of there. I was next to him.
Yes.
I stopped the bleeding. He survived.
Yes.
But now I got a new waist gunner, and I don't even know who Janice is.
No, well, I'm sure she's a nice person.
Yeah.
Go watch Stuka Joe's stuff. It'll tell you everything you need to know about the game, and it shows you the narrative, the rich narrative storytelling.
I think there's like 7 missions, because there was a crew intro video in there, but I think there's like 7 or 8 missions.
Yeah.
It's number 9.
Yeah. Go watch those. It'll tell you everything you need to know. My number 2, B-17.
Okay, my number 2, probably one you might not have heard heard of. Bridge Too Far, Operation Market Garden. It is published by Battlefront Miniatures. You may know them as the Flames of War guys. If you have any Flames of War questions, I don't know. I'm painting miniatures is a level of dedication far above me. You don't have to play Flames of War. This is a standalone game. I don't even know if it ties into it. That's how little I know. This is a standalone game that I found out later about Flames of War. 2-player game. All the others I've had is solitaire. There is no hidden information in this. This is area impulse. It has plastic pieces. It's not memoir where I've got 25 plastic guys in this area. They represent more of you can commit up to 2 of your plastic guys in a battle, and it's representing that you're trying to get a die roll modifier. You're committing more to this battle. Very interesting. It's called the Firestorm system if you know anything about Flames of War. What's really cool, why this works so well as a solid, I could have put any number of 2-player games on there. Any of my old Avalon Hill games I could have thrown in. You Go, I Go, Battle of the Bulge. That none of them have hidden information. But what's so cool about this that makes it great solitaire is when the impulses come, both sides dice off to see who actually gets to move. Only one, it's not I go on my impulse, you go on your impulse. Only one guy gets to act on that impulse. So you might be thinking, oh, I'm going to do this and this and this and this, and suddenly, uh-oh, the Germans just got it. You play both sides as well as you can, but there's an unpredictability level that's kind of like playing the other person. There's victory points in this that are following the traditional paths they took. You're probably not going to break through to Germany just like they did, but there's levels of victory in it, and you will follow the routes that they took.
Sorry, so you're saying that in a turn, when both people could move, you randomly determine who goes first?
There's 4 turns in this game, and the turns are made up of a variable number of impulses. Let's say there's 8 impulses. The first impulse comes, you're the Germans, I'm the Allies, we dice off. Allies win ties and get +1. So there's a likely chance they're going to get it, but they might not.
So does the other person go next?
No.
So
I could win 3 in a row. I could win theoretically every impulse of that turn, and you never get a go.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
That was what I was afraid you were saying.
That's why this thing, that's why this thing works. So now the odds are it doesn't happen. The Allies are going to win some more, but they're not going to win them all. And it just like, whoa, boy, that's the dogs of war.
And is there an even chance of who has the initiative? At 1, 2, 3, Allies go first.
You
4,
dice
5, 6.
off for it. Allies win ties and get +1 on their die. So the Allies are more likely to win the initiative, but they're not going to win them all.
So you might go through the whole game and the German's never going to move.
Theoretically, the odds of that are pretty zillion to 1, but it could
like
happen.
A bump,
So I'll be selling my copy.
But no, I had a blast playing this thing because there are variable rules on you don't know how much your paratroopers are going to get resupplied. There's the historical scenario and then a what if scenario where basically you can where the German units, you don't know where they're coming in at. So that was really interesting because so it creates a lot more of the two-player feel playing by yourself. And no, I never saw it where one side kept winning the initiative over and over and over.
But it's possible.
Anything can happen.
It sounds broken.
No, but anyways, I had such a blast playing this game. The other reason I'd recommend it, especially for Solitaire, is no vassal module. I don't even know if the company's pro-vassal. It'd be a little tough for me with the plastic pieces. It could be done, but I haven't sat down. It hadn't been a high priority because it plays so well. Usually when I do vassal mods, it's a game I want to play more and can't get enough of it in. So that is my number 2, A Bridge Too Far, Operation Market Garden.
Plays 2 to 5.
Okay, my number 2 is A Victory Lost. There is a sister game called A Victory Denied. I have played this game more. I've talked about it before. It's the post-Stalingrad. In this one, the Russians are attacking. The Germans are trying to hold on to the key strategic cities. The reason why this makes a good solitaire game is because this one is a chit pull to see which headquarters activates. And then when a headquarters activates, it's only the units within their range of control. So it might be 4, 5, 6 hexes. And so in any given impulse, you're only moving a few of the pieces on the map. So there is no, it's better than I go and get to move everybody. Now you go and get to move everybody. There is one time in this game, or one time each turn, the Russians have a piece that will let them activate every headquarters along the line. But the Germans know coming. The Germans know they have to prepare for it. And I mean, most of what that does is let the Russians that have been stranded behind, let them move forward so they are more into the battle. There were some comments. I know we don't often refer to our past comments, but there were some comments that this is a bland looking game. Absolutely. You could probably do it with an all white map with a few dots on it, although the rivers are important. But to me, the play of the game is more important, and this plays good as a solitaire game because of the chit pull with limited impact on each turn. A Victory Lost, A Victory Denied, again by Multiman Publishing.
All right, my number 1, no surprise for some. I put a lot of my solitaire games on my best games of all time. It's going to be Ambush and its sister, Not Required. It's a standalone game called Battle Hymn, which is the same thing as Ambush, but in the Pacific. Again, narrative story, you're playing individual soldiers, a squad, and you're moving through a map with little surprises that pop out. You've got a little thing they call the cartridge in the cartridge sleeve, which is definitely old school. You're sliding around checking, hey, the hex I'm in, and then a little window and nothing happens, or turn to paragraph such and such. It's a paragraph book that then tells a story, and you have an overall mission that you're trying to achieve, and there's surprises along the way. Not great for replayability, although I can probably pull it out about every 5 years, and I can't remember all the things that happened, and I have every expansion for it, which added maps and it added special rules and it added new cartridges and new missions. Just a beautiful experience from a solitaire point of view. It's my favorite solitaire game of all time. It is hard to get a hold of. You can do it, but it's expensive. I think it might even be a little pricier than B-17 or in that same realm. So I apologize, but if you can get a hold of it,
I didn't think it was. I thought the expansions were, but the base game's
it
not
might be a little bit less than B-17. Some of the expansions are hard to get a hold of because obviously there weren't as many put out as the base game. But Ambush or its Pacific sister or brother, Battle Hymn.
Okay, my number 1 solitaire game is France 1944, The Allied Crusade in Europe, Victory Games 1986, designed by Mark Herman. Yes, that Mark Herman, the man who's so awesome.
The guy in NCIS?
No.
Oh, okay.
The guy who's so awesome that when he goes to McDonald's, he doesn't order a Big Mac, he orders Big Marks.
Aren't you related?
No. See, Big Marks don't have special sauce. They have
What
awesome
about the game?
sauce.
What about the game?
Because even his burgers are awesome. Anyways, the game is Operation Cobra, the breakout from Normandy and the run across France. It is not a monster game. You might be thinking Victory Games that era. 11 pages of rules. The rule book's got a little more with examples, but only 11 pages. 140 counters, only plays about 3 hours. The reason this game is here is I love fresh ways of looking at war games, and this, for a 28-year-old game, extremely fresh even today. The three things I'll talk briefly. One is, instead of you go, I go, move, do the odds thing with soak off and all that, you activate headquarters off of a chit pool, which is part of why there's no hidden information. That headquarters will do so many units, armor and infantry, within its range, nation specific. Now, if that sounds familiar, that's Empire of the Sun. The basis of it's right here. It's awesome in both games. The second is that, when you go, if you have like an armor unit here, an infantry unit here, and a mech infantry that's much more mobile, trying to bring them all up and surround and hit all at once, that's not going to happen. So what he did within the confines of an 11-page simple rule book is created a form of real-time combat. Sounds very difficult. It's not. It has little tracks to help you along through it. I'm not even going to explain it because everybody that's ever played this game said it's much easier experience than explained. But it is very, very cool, and I've always wondered, why isn't that used in other games? The third one is it uses twin combat results tables. One is your typical odds base with column shifts for air power and terrain. The second one, you take that result and move it over, and it's the morale of the lead unit from each side. So it takes quantity and quality into account. When you first play, you're thinking, I don't know why he thought he needed two. Read the designer notes. They're not in the game. You got to get online. Board Game Geek file section. You will be blown away when he talks about it, and you'll realize all of my lines aren't so cheesy. He really is that awesome. So, might even have you buying a Big Mark today. Anyways.
Big Mark.
So the thing I wondered is, why, when I saw this, why hadn't I heard of this? I'd heard of Civil War and some of the others. This doesn't have the lasting popularity of some of the Victory games. I think the reason why is something Greg mentioned in the Battle of the Bulge games. One side is getting pounded on the whole time. You're in constant retreat trying to keep the allies from getting their objectives. Not everybody's cup of tea, I understand. Love East Front, didn't like West Front. Same system, I just didn't like getting pounded on. That is exactly why this game is such a great solitaire game, because you don't get pounded on. You spend half the time doing the pounding. And you can study the history behind it and see these great mechanics all together. Now, 28-year-old game, you might be thinking, how am I going to buy this thing? My copy here, I bought it 3 years ago. Unpunched, excellent condition. You can't see it. It says $10. It's not for sale. The precious is mine. Anyways, I saw a copy go for $5 last month on eBay. I checked last night. There's 4 copies going for under $35. So plays well 1 or 2, plays quickly, has a vassal module, a willing vassal opponent. So you got to ask yourself, why don't you have this? It's very affordable. So when this video's over, that's why you don't have it, because the video's still going on. When this video's over, get out there and get on eBay and get a copy, and let's play this thing. Because if not, and you call yourself a war gamer, and a war gamer who's played Mark Herman games, tomorrow morning you're going to be waking up, standing in front of the mirror, looking yourself in the eye saying, where am I going with my life? Because I just failed. Don't do that.
Preach it, baby.
France 1944, Allied Crusade in Europe, my #1 solitaire game.
Preach it. Can you even, yeah.
I feel like I'm watching freaking Criminal Minds and watching some stalker.
He's a stalker.
No, I'm a fanboy.
Watch out, Mark.
I like you, Mark. I'm looking forward to seeing you at the WBC this summer. My #1 solitaire game, I'm gonna go back to, it's the coin series, because it has the solitaire system built into it, where you can play, and the second and third game in the series, I'm pretty sure both of them even have it where you can be any one of the 4 sides. In Ending Abyss, you can actually only be the government, and the artificial intelligence will do the other 3 sides. But in the other games in the series, you can be any of the sides. They're good, as we talked about before. They are not the same game, but you can learn to play the game and enjoy it. You're winning a different way, but you can learn to play it and you can enjoy it, and you'll learn how to play the multiplayer game better. Ending Abyss, the Counterinsurgency series, my #1 solitaire game series.
I didn't even see you had that under there. I hope I didn't steal your thunder.
No, we're good.
All right, cool. Well, there you go, guys. There's some of the best solitaire games you can go out there and get war game wise, and a fanboy. HAMTAG.
We're out of here.
See you guys later. Bye.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.